But Stephen, as I understand it, parents will be in the dark for a little bit longer. Schools get those results within a month, but parents have to wait until, I think it's term 3. Why the gap in the timeline there? Shouldn't parents be looped in when the schools are?
Yeah, so what we provide to the schools is the results of the assessments themselves. What parents want to know is also how their child's performed alongside the rest of the country, and that takes a bit longer. So there's, as I say, 1.3 million students sitting these assessments, and it takes time for us to then do all of the marking and the data crunching to enable us to work out, well, what is that average Australian student scoring in these assessments? Work out those proficiency levels for each individual student, and then be able to report that back to parents. So the parents get more information than the schools do in that initial stage. But importantly, we give those key information back to schools within 4 weeks, so they can start acting on that as soon as possible. And of course, as all schools do, they'll keep their parents informed if there's anything alarming or the good news about each of the students in there as well. And this fits in with the cycle of reporting for parents. Parents like myself are gearing up at that point to be receiving information from the school about their end of semester 1 reports. And this is another form of information that will just help us to connect with those parents too about how their child's performing in these key literacy and numeracy skills.
NAPLAN is always controversial. Some parents, some teachers just hate the whole concept of this sort of mass testing. In fact, in Queensland, we've seen the Teachers Union there calling for a boycott this week. They're arguing students are getting too stressed out by these tests. They're saying that these tests are high stakes but low value. How do you respond to that? And considering the calls for a boycott and the fact that it is a voluntary test, what sort of participation rate are you expecting to see this year? Have we seen a big change in participation rates over the years, or is it always pretty steady?
There's a couple of parts to that. First of all, this is a national assessment, so we want every student possible to undertake these assessments because they're all as important as each other and they're the future of our country. So we want to know, how our students are faring, how their literacy and numeracy skills are going. It informs schools of how they're going with these type of skills for their own students. It's really important for our states and territories and the country as a whole to know how we're tracking on these, really foundational skills of literacy and numeracy. So we want everyone to attend and to do their best. That's all we ask. In terms of the participation rates, of course, during the last couple of years, we saw a bit of a decline in that. There were higher absences than usual during the school terms. Due to illness and COVID-related illness, of course. We saw a bounce back in last year in terms of attendance and participation in NAPLAN. We're expecting a similar turnout to what we've had in previous years. It runs up around that sort of 90% of students undertaking the test, depending on which test and what days. One of the real advantages of online assessments, of course, is that they can be caught up. You can catch up on those assessments if the child is not there on a particular day. And that's something that wasn't possible, of course, with paper-based assessments. So there's some real advantages to the way in which we're conducting these assessments now.